33 webinar in our Godrej Storage and Handling Knowledge series titled Inventory Management in VUCA World. Before I move on to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, let me just revisit the core purpose of running this knowledge sharing platform that is built specifically for intralogistics domain. I would say it is a Godrej way of giving back the knowledge that we have gathered in past 6 decades now to the society and the industry around. I'm happy to say that the response to our platform has been overwhelmingly positive, and it has been a great encouragement for us to continue this initiative. Today, we'll be exploring a topic that is crucial for any organization that deals with physical products, managing inventory effectively in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment, that is VUCA. As you may know, the term VUCA was originally coined by the US Army to describe the challenges of the Cold War era, but it has since been adopted by business leaders to describe the new normal of global economy, where change is constant and disruptions are frequent. In this context, inventory management becomes even more important as it can make the difference between success and failure for a company. A well-managed inventory can help us reduce costs, improve customer satisfaction, and improve profitability, while a managed inventory can lead to stockouts, excess inventory, lost sales, and unhappy customers. This webinar titled Inventory Management in VUCA World, we will explore some valuable insights and practical tips on how to respond to such challenges of VUCA and optimize your inventory management practices. We will cover topics that would focus on inventory control, use cases, and deep dive options for inventory control. And we are going to have a close understanding of this from our eminent speaker, Mr. Prasad Tipnis, Head of Integrated Planning at Godrej Material Handling. Mr. Prasad Tipnis is an experienced professional with over 22 years of experience in various manufacturing domains, from nuclear, defense, ETO manufacturing to mass manufacturing of industrial equipment. He currently serves as Head of Integrated Planning at Godrej Material Handling. He is an expert in supply chain planning and has a proven track record of integrating business processes for agile decision making in forecasting, material planning, and revenue. He has also led enterprise level IT solution deployments and change management initiatives. One of Aniket, I guess your mic is not on mute. One of Mr. Tipnis's key achievements is his instrumental role in deploying the theory of constraints in an industrial equipment manufacturing setup. He is known for his expertise in design efficient warehouses for manufacturing factories with backward integration of inventory management. We are excited to have him share his insights and experience with us today. Before I move on, I would request everyone to put in their questions in the chat box on the top right of your screen. We shall try to answer them straight away or towards the end of this session. Please do not forget to write your name in the box above the Q&A section. That will help us to get back to you after the webinar in case we miss your question. We hope that by the end of this webinar, you will have a better understanding of the importance of inventory management in VUCA world and some actionable ideas on how to improve your own practices. So without further ado, I request Mr. Prasad Tipnis to take over and wish everyone has an insightful session. Over to you, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, Darshit. Thanks. Good afternoon. Darshit, let me just know my slides are visible to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, those are visible.
Okay, thank you very much. Inventory management in VUCA world. Why we chose the inventory management in the series of warehouse management series? There is a strong linkages when we deal with a warehouse design. The first and important step which we need to adopt is the inventory management. The inventory management and inventory control can significantly impact on the warehouse designs can reduce significantly on warehouse cost, because in the VUCA world, as the demands are increasing, we know that it is going to increase on the inventory levels. So if we master on the inventory control art, we can always reduce on our capex and our planning to do better and better in the warehouse designs. This is the fundamental where we wanted to start the inventory management process and the series in the upcoming series of warehouse management. So I feel supply chain team who are involved in supply chain, most of them would be from the similar backgrounds in the audience. And for a supply chain professional, the demand fluctuations and supply fluctuations are not new. And every time we face those challenges and we respond to those challenges. So that's how the supply chain professionals work. However, in the current few years, the challenges have more increased to a larger extent, and that's where in the VUCA world, the challenges has come on a aggressive way for the supply chain professionals. So before I start my presentation, inventory management is a larger subject, and I will focus in the next 40-45 minutes. I will focus on one or two areas so that some deep dives is possible. And that is the intention of my current presentation. So we will be continuing for next 2 or 3 series, upcoming series, and then we will focus on more areas. So today, what I have been planning to do and share with you is our experience in past 5-6 years in the journey of the warehouse design, the control on inventory side through various manufacturing stages, and while we were changing our gears to higher new products, new product development. And in this process, what we have learned, we would like to share with you. So I'll be covering some techniques to respond to the VUCA world. I'll be covering some of the quick starts on inventory controls, which is easily adoptable and which can be started even in a very shorter time. I'll be taking 4 or 5 case stages, which will deep dive. And then I will be sharing with you some of the options which are possible to more deep dive into inventory control. So largely, the VUCA world impacts on inventory, cost, resources, and time. So these are the major areas where the supply chains are getting impacted. We know in the VUCA world, the volatility in the demand and the uncertainties from the supply side are impacting more. And so it is forcing most of the time, it is forcing for us on the inventory side. So what we ends up into either on the higher inventory or on the shortages. In the same world, if I see some companies are doing extremely well. Some companies, they are not doing some extremely well. They are failing continuously. So if I look at the two extreme ends and try to analyze what are the success factors in some companies where they are achieving larger targets and be a successful supply chain professionals or be a successful business members. I see a very clear examples of one side. It is Amul, who in the period of the last 2 or 3 years, they have launched about 33 products in one quarter, which is a good case for us to learn and change our gears faster and respond to the VUCA world faster. At the same time, somewhere when we have not changed our gears, we have failed drastically. So it is up to us where we want to stand. And the things are not with the corporates, the things are also changing with the government agencies now. And we are able to see the impact If I look at the government policies today, right from demonetization, the entire change journey has started. In India, we are seeing the common man is responding well. I mean, it's something which is very uncommon, but there is a important thing which is hidden into the success factor of a few of the uh, initiatives that the government has taken, and they are successful. So I can clearly see the difference between the success and failure is where we ourselves changes. The common man or the downstream processes, the upstream processes, they get alignment. So that's our theme of current today's presentation. That in the VUCA world also there are some companies who are really doing well, who are changing their gears faster, and we need to be more responsive in the agile world so that we will gain the benefit. So inventory, when we say, there are always three parts of inventory. One is on a raw material inventory side, second is on a WIP side, and third is on the finished goods sides. So if I look at inventory, why we need inventory? The first question that we need to understand, answer is, we need inventory because customer needs it. I mean, wherever we are resolving customer problems, that inventory is a good inventory. When we are hiding our inefficiencies, that's not a good inventory. So that's a fundamental inventory definition, which I will take it forward. So what I said, the inventory which is required for my customer satisfaction is important, but the inventory which is not for my customer satisfaction is a bad inventory. So if I look at raw material, WIP and finished goods, so all businesses, they have inventories on either side of the process. There is no, if we are keeping inventories on all the sides, let's say we are keeping inventories on the raw material, we are keeping inventories on WIP, we are keeping inventories on finished goods, definitely we should see that we are inefficient in a way, because why we are keeping inventory on a raw material side is, somewhere some businesses, they deal with a configurable, customized product where their process of conversion is faster, but at the same time the demand from the customer is volatile. It's a complex requirement. So whenever there is a complex requirement coming from a customer, we always keep raw material inventory in stock and try to convert when the orders are received, when the customer finalizes their designs. So these are the areas where we keep generally raw material inventory on a higher side. In project environment, where customer requirements are frozen, customer requirement designs are frozen, but the complexity is on the conversion side. There usually we keep WIP WIP inventory more. So why? Because those complexities, we are handling with those complexities on the conversion side. The third area is when the goods are commodized. When the goods are commodized, there is always a race of availability. And in those areas, in those product lines, in those businesses, we generally keep finished goods on a higher side. So these are the three major differences that we should remember, so that we are attending to a goal where we are satisfying customer with the inventory. Hope this sounds good. One disclaimer, I may not be able to cover all the three inventory areas in a short period. And so for this presentation or for this series, I have planned to focus more on my raw material planning or material planning, inventory control. However, some of the processes are very common in a as an inventory control process, and they may help you, or they may maybe suitable start for maybe WIP or finished good as well. But my focus would be on a raw material inventory. With this, I will start with my main presentation. And we are saying that either we end up into high inventory or we are short of inventories. So that's a common problem which we see when the VUCA is impacting us. So obviously, because there is a high volatility, there is a ambiguity, it is very difficult to put a right size of inventory, and that's where our challenges are increasing. However, I would say if you connect back to our first or second slide, where we are saying that there are ways to handle it, and if this situation is true, only when we are saying that we are managing conventionally. That means the entire world is changing, but I am not changing. I am doing the same conventional way which I used to do it some years back. Then the same situation will arise that we are ending up with an imbalance of inventory, either high side or on a lower side. But there are better ways to handle it. If I see what a conventional way of handling the inventory planning today, also in some businesses, is they see a bomb structure. They see they run MRP. So MRP was initiated in 1960. Somewhere around 1980, it was matured, and it was okay till 2000 era. But now those methods, those conventional methods may not help us in managing the VUCA world. So if we are still there with MRP, with the reorder point, why reorder point will not work for us? Because fundamentally reorder point will work when the demands are stable, when the lead times are stable. And when in the VUCA world, we are saying that in the VUCA world, the lead times may not be same, the demand patterns may not be same. So these fundamental disconnect are really making companies difficult when they adopt to the old technologies in a VUCA world. So typically our supply chains are now very large and extended. You all are experiencing that we started with a few suppliers, then now we are forcing our reaches to the global network. We also have tier 1, tier 2 suppliers where their supply chains are also getting extended. So they are also becoming bigger and bigger. And this all adds a lot of complexities. If I try to resolve these complexities, which is managing multi-tier suppliers, managing different sets of retailers, distributors, dealers, and the entire ecosystem of current supply chain in a conventional way, I don't know, it will be a mammoth task to manage it through a conventional way. And that is where the failure starts. Are there good ways to handle it? So there are obviously good ways to handle it. Companies are exploring good ways to handle it. And this is what we want to share with you today. Today, as we see, the supply chain networks are extended to multi levels. And if on the screen, if you look at on one finished goods side, then there is a work WIP, which is work in process side. Then on the left hand side, we are seeing that there is a raw material inventory, and extended vendors. So this is becoming our ecosystem. Now, if I look at the ecosystem and if I connect all the dots, probably I will be able to manage the ecosystem. So when I am saying I will be able to manage this ecosystem by creating buffers at every end, which buffers to be kept, where those buffers to be kept, all this needs a lot of data-based decision making. Now, obviously, this database decision makings are not possible without we really connect all those dots with digital framework. So this is how, if you connect back, what we said is that responding to VUCA world is possible if we connect all these ecosystem dots with a digital platform. So now there are solutions which are available today, which helps you to put the entire ecosystem on your platform in a single platform where you are able to connect with multiple resources. You can extend your ecosystem in a digital way and try to connect with them, try to get along with them. And so we are able to see what difficulties in one particular supply chain, one particular area they are going through, connecting with them, understand their difficulties, and then accordingly keep on changing the options which are available with us. This is these are the possibilities. These are the ways we today respond to the VUCA world. So the fundamentally what we need to do is we need to predict in surrounding system, which is a VUCA world, which is around us. Every dot is getting affected. Those dots where they are getting affected, I need to monitor them. I need to precisely track them. I need to see till what level I am able to control them. All that is possible, and then you will be able to see what best you can predict. So there are predictions which are available when we start talking to dealers, when we start talking to retailers, when we start talking to direct customers. When the inquiry starts, that's the first point where we connect with the customer. The demand fluctuations start much earlier, and so with the digital framework, you are able to connect that with the information on a demand side. Similarly, when on a supplier side, you are able to see what inventory levels that your suppliers are carrying, how they are improving, how they are declining. All that you are able to track on a digital framework, and then you take your own decisions. Those are also be able to automate basis on the configuration that you do on a mathematical model. So if you respond to all the changes around you, you are in a better position to control on your inventories, and at the same time, you are better in a control to respond to the customers. So this is a representation of an overall ecosystem, I would say. On the right hand side, you will find the supply side. On the left hand side, you are seeing the demand side. Today, you are able to connect with all the suppliers through a digital platform. You can give them forecasts based on the fluctuations on demand side. When the inquiry right from inquiry side to the demand side, when it fluctuates, all those informations we are able to connect with a decks of AI tool. You are able to predict better. All those predictions are again coming to a centralized area where you are creating the master plans. So when basis on the real data, so one way of working is to forecast. And we know in past 10-15 years, our forecast data never were accurate. And why they were not accurate? Because when you extend your supply chains, when you extend your ecosystems, now there everyone who is estimating it gets it gets jumbled into numbers, and there is no tracking system which is available. Instead of that, if you track the real inquiry base, the real changes in the world which are related to your product, all those are possible with the tracking mechanism, the platforms which are available. For example, if we are into a appliance business, where we are manufacturing refrigerators and washing machines, we are able to see the demand changes right from a maybe on a seasonal patterns, maybe from the product variants that the market is offering. Basis on that, then dealers' responses, These are the things when it gets captured onto a platform, it helps to convert them onto a decision making. When you convert those demand fluctuations on a decision making, you then cover them onto your master planning, master production planning. Accordingly, when you do your master planning or master production planning, you obviously control on your inventories. When you see that the changes are from the supply side, when the shippings are getting delayed, you are able to take a call to plan for higher inventories. When you are able to see that shipping times are going back to the original, again you are able to connect with the lower lead times, lower inventory levels. All these decisions are possible when you connect with supplier through a digital network. So on one side, what we are saying is, on one side, your demand fluctuation can be digitally controlled, digitally analyzed, converted into the master plans. Then on the shop floor, on your production area, you are able to be more in control. You are planning what exactly is needed on the demand side. You are able to connect the same requirement through a supply system, able to connect, get the confidence from supply side, and then finalize what is going to be your next production plan. And so you control on your inventories. If you look at the points which I've put today, you are able to connect with the supplier and say that this is my requirement. Basis on his availability of raw material, basis on his availability of resources, he may come to you and say, this is feasible, this is not feasible. So in earlier cases, in a larger set of inventories when you are managing, the difficult part was to synchronize the entire supply chain. So for example, when your 80% parts are available and 20% parts are not available, ultimately you end up into a higher inventory levels. Today, those cases can be reduced drastically by taking commitments from the supplier. Suppliers are also happy to share their inventory levels with you. They are also happy to share what confidence that they have for next 10 days, next 15 days, or next 1 month, or next 3 months, because it's an ecosystem where you also share what you need for next 1 or 2 months or 3 months. It's win-win situations, and with that as a common platform, you are able to control a lot of things on inventory side. At the same time, you are precisely well on what is going to be your product numbers, and so you're precisely well on commitments in the market. So this is how today the ecosystems are getting evolved. Those platforms are available. Those platforms are readily available to connect easily in a short span of time, and at a various scale level this is available. So because the IT solutions are also available from a small enterprise to a larger enterprise, we are able to see multiple options in connecting in an ecosystem. I will go to the next point where I'm saying that how we can start quickly instead of so what we saw is we saw the entire enterprise level solution and bigger solutions where the entire ecosystem is getting connected. However, there are some sweet spots where you can connect digitally quickly on your inventory control side. And how do I do that? Is today conventionally how you manage your reorder levels. Conventionally, you manage your reorder levels on a very stagnant stack of limits. So it is very difficult when your stock points are fixed and they are not dynamically changing. It is very difficult for you to control the inventory, obviously, because you're in a VUCA world, the bigger challenge is your SKU numbers are also increasing day by day. So when the SKU numbers are wider and wider and varieties are increasing, it is very difficult to control them manually, which is a conventional way of managing the reorder points. Whereas a simple way of connecting each SKU and their stock points and their consumption pattern and their receipt patterns digitally, you are then able to see the reorder point getting modified quickly. So how do I do that? If you have a digital replenishment module where your receipts and consumptions are connected, maybe connection with ERP, then you are able to define your threshold into 3 or 4 different colors. So the first color is green. So green is saying that this is if you look at on the screen, this is the stock point level, the entire stock point level. When I am saying green, that means my stock point level has gone down by 33%. My stock point, when it goes beyond 33, which is 33 to 66, it is represented into a yellow color. When it is beyond 66% stock point level than my threshold, then it is represented with the red color. If I'm really stock out, then the stock out statement is represented with the black, and if I'm exceeding, which is excess stock I'm carrying, then it is represented generally with a blue color or a white color. This is possible to be connected through a digital replenishment model. Now look at the benefit of connecting with a digital framework when we are connecting our stock points with a digital modules. On the right hand side, if you see, this is showing you that how my stock points are moving. The stock points are moving from in a different color zones. So on a time scale. So when you see that these stock points are moving in a different color zone, there you see when to change. So if I say if it is continuously into green, that is you are on an average you are continuously satisfying the customer demands, then you can reduce that those SKUs to a lower stock point, which generally is done by 1/3 of the stock point which you have earlier planned. If you're seeing that if the inventories are going down into a red category continuously, there you can take decision to increase the buffer sizes. Now these are the decision point. Now can you do this manually? Because again, what our challenge is, the number of SKUs are increasing on a daily basis. Then manually controls are not possible. People are changing and so on and so on. So when you do this digitally, the advantage which you get is, these are the advantages. When you are seeing on the screen that it is continuously in a green side, you can build a logic into a system. Rather, the logics are already built into a system, which is called as dynamic buffer management. Those dynamic buffer management helps you to automatically reduce some stock points to a lower side. When they see on the left hand side, you're seeing that the excess inventory, we are trying to reduce it, and this is done automatically. On the right hand side, when you are seeing that availability is impacted because your stock point, which you had decided, they are not sufficient. And so when automatically in some replenishment cycles, it automatically identifies the point to increase the stock point level, and this is done automatically. And so on both sides, which is your pain area, which is either I am landing up into excess inventory or I'm landing up into a stock out situation, both are addressable through automation. The another advantage is if you look at the SKU level, on SKU level, you are able to see on a required horizon how has been the journey of each SKU. So each SKU is telling you some story. So on each SKU, it is telling you whether it is in continuously green, who are continuously in red, who are continuously in yellow. All that is possible when you work on a digital platform to connect on a inventory. So when you see that there are some SKUs which are becoming your bottleneck, that because they are continuously in black. So if you look at the figure which I'm showing into a black category, there you are seeing that consistently you are into a black zone. When you are into a black zone, you are able to take decisions either to go to another supplier, to see alternate material, to see some changes into your supply chain, precisely on a data-driven mechanism. Now, how do I really see the benefit of inventory control, and how should I see that my inventories are coming down? When you connect this into a similar fashion, you are able to see that where your inventory is holding. So your inventory, if you look at the chart which has been shown on the bottom left hand side, there you are able to monitor on a week by wise basis that where your inventory is, what percentage of inventory you are carrying into a red zone, what percentage of inventory you are carrying into yellow zone, what percentage of inventory you are carrying into a green zone, and a blue zone, of course, the excess inventory. And when you see that on a weekly basis, the inventories into these zones are either coming down, for example, the blacks which are reducing, or the range, the reds which are reducing, and the yellow is a better color to operate with a optimized inventory. And so when the yellow is improving, all that is indicating you that you are into a inventory controls. Hope this is useful for us. For some people, this may be a repetition. They might be practicing this regularly, repeatedly. For them, it may be a refresher course. So the important thing is when we are operating with a digital initiatives, it is also important that how we are tracking and how we are monitoring on the final impact, which is your inventory control. So on the right hand side, you are able to see that on a weekly basis, you are able to reduce your inventory levels. And that's the result that we are able to achieve. So in the supply chain, it is also important that when you are working on the replenishment model, it is also important that which are the parts, which are the SKUs, which you will couple with the product, or which you will decouple with your product line. So what I mean to say is, um, if you look at the BOM structure, always there are some SKUs which are critical on assembly line, which are repeated, which are A class, which are repeated, and those are the repeated ones. And so the treatment for those is different. There are some SKUs which are maybe B class or C class, but they are part of your variants, or they're a part of your slow moving demands. And so you may require to decouple them, decides what level of inventory you need to keep. And so the coupling and decoupling onto a MRP, when we are saying MRP, this MRP is different from a conventional MRP. This MRP is again a digital platform which is called as demand driven MRP. So this demand driven MRP is a established framework on a digital platform where you decide based on your consumption point, based on your supply chain confidence, that which SKUs you try to couple, which you don't want to couple. So coupling and decoupling, these are the decision points you need to take. Once those decision points are taken and you put up them into a demand-driven MRP environment, you get the maximum benefit. So the maximum benefits are obtained through majorly three levers. One lever is how you are positioning, which I said positioning in terms of coupling and decoupling the SKUs to your larger master plan. Then the second is which we discuss about setting a threshold levels, which is a protection strategy. So what protection levels you need to put and how you manage those buffers. And the third is the pull mechanism. So these are the areas where in the demand-driven MRPs, well connected, the entire ecosystem is well connected, and you are able to take the automated decision making so that your inventories are in control and your availabilities are protected. Now I'm moving to one level where I'm sharing some of the 4 or 5 case studies or some experiences which we had in the last 5 or 6 years. Where in VUCA world, if I look at the major impact which is happening on a number of SKU level. So what is the challenge is we will not be able to hold the new product introduction or new product development. So in a VUCA world, new products will keep on coming in a very short cycle of time. At this definitely impacts because as you release new products, there are a number of SKUs which gets added into your supply chain, and every SKU addition is a complexity which gets added into your supply chain. So there are some good practices which industry follows. They are at a much mature stage, but we can really look at it, some best practices, and try to copy to some amount where we are able to adopt some good practices and start with. So when there is a high variety and a low volume, it's a challenge with the supply chain. So how platform designs are helping now in with the companies is to reduce the complexity of adding new SKUs. So you are bringing new products, you're bringing new variants, but at the same time, you're keeping the base structure, which is a platform structure, same or common. So with the lowest design changes, you are bringing higher variants in the market and satisfying the needs of the customer. So this is the best practice that we must adopt so that the number of SKUs addition into a supply chain will minimize. The second is, if you look at the center graph, generally the A class components and C class and B class components, there is a large difference. So generally the addition of A class components are lesser, but the addition of B class and C class components are very high. So if you look at a warehouse, a typical warehouse of manufacturing unit, you will see that the pallet position, which is the A class components, are handled through a pallet. Pallet positions are less, and the bin quantities are increasing rapidly. So this is a point where the complexity gets added into the supply chain. How can I? One is the portfolio. One is your platform design where you can reduce the number of SKUs. Second is the second lever which you can use is to do a kitting of those C class or B class component as per your modules, as per your ready to fit workstations, and you can really kit those so that the number of SKUs will come down. So kitting means if you have, as per BOM, if you have 15 to 20 components, you can convert them into one kit, reduce the number of SKU as a one kit. So all the transactions across the supply chain, right from receipt in the stores to placing purchase order to a customer, all to supplier, all reduces. Then the advantage is your movements also becomes far faster and you can reduce on number of SKUs. The third point is the C class component generally should be handled through an aggregator. So if you try to transfer the number of C class components to an aggregator who can then collect and supply you as a single unit, which is the kitting unit, it will also drastically reduce your supply chain. We have talked about a lot of digital initiatives. One must thing is we must digitize our store. This is the fundamental basis on which you are able to then connect with your inventory level, stock point level, which we have seen in a few slides. They are possible only when you are changing your way of working. So in VUCA world, the number of SKUs are increasing and number of experienced people on your in your warehouses are diminishing. So uh, that's where the challenge comes, because if your inventory levels are not precise and they are not defined well, and if there is ambiguity, then your decision making points will go wrong. So the fundamental correction is, if you correct your warehouses with a QR code, your locations are with QR code, and then you are able to, instead of counting by hand, if you are able to connect those inventory checkpoints through a scanning activity, it will give you right size of inventory. The right size of inventory is throughout required in all your analysis and decision making. So recently, I was going through the article um, uh, which was on a government document site. Even government is realizing the fact that today inventory visibility on a digital platforms are necessary. You look at the right side, the scenario where cameras, which are AI-based cameras, they are installed and they are able to say, they are able to track what is the inventory which is recorded in the system, and the inventory which is recorded through your cameras, whether they are tallying or they are not tallying. The WMS system, which is a warehouse management systems, helps you to improve this accuracy, inventory accuracy, more and more with a small amount of investment in WMS. Another challenge in VUCA world is as the customer demands are increasing suddenly. So we are seeing the demands are increasing suddenly, and again they are going back to average level, and again they are suddenly going up. Or sometimes the demands are really changing in upward trend. So the common problem, if I look at the factory side, if I look at the supply chain side, the common problem or rather not common problem, but rather how we are handling these issues more often or more common is we try to induce the entire pressure of which is coming from a demand side onto a production shops. Whether they will really help, my experience says that they will not help. They will rather complicate the supply chain, and they will rather add lot of ambiguity into a production shop, and so the ambiguity will again pass it on to the customer, and it will add nuisance in the entire supply chain side. So through our experience, through our various case studies, we have tried to establish this process. It is well working. I would like to share with you the process, how we try to bring focus whenever there is a demand change suddenly, which is happening around our ecosystem. So on the bottom side, you are able to see process A, process B, and process C. This is a typical scenario. On the production line side, you have different processes, and which then transfers into the right side, which is the FG. So on the right side, there is a FG, finished good. On the left hand side, there are suppliers, or the suppliers and the supply system, stores and supply system on the left hand side. And in between, this is a work in progress. So process A, process B, and process C. Every process has its output. So if I look at output from process A, process B, and process C, probably if you don't improve on those output, the throughput in the entire chain, right from supply chain side to manufacturing side till finished good side, will be a bottleneck at the constraint resource. You will agree to that. That one a bottleneck in the process will give you the size of throughput. So when I'm saying that there is a bottleneck and there is a sudden demand increase, should I really put the entire order bank or my excess demand onto a shop floor, or should I see that I resolve my constraint resource capacity, increase the constraint resource capacity, and to the best possible constraint resource capacity, I will operate my supply chain. Why? Because today we are talking about inventory control. Today we are talking about customer satisfaction. And today we are talking about our commitments to customer through inventory. So if I increase my work in progress through this because of sudden change in demand, I will not be able to convert them into finished good. So finished good will remain same because it is hovering, it is bottlenecking at the constrained resource. So what will happen is in this process, generally the scenarios are you increase the working progress inventory. So there is an impact on a working progress inventory because you are increasing working progress inventory. You are drawing more material from suppliers. Suppliers will start feeding you that raw material. So you will increase the raw material inventory, and ultimately you are not converting it into finished good inventory, and which then reflects onto a bad inventory. So what I said initially is the inventory which is required for customer is good inventory. The inventory which is not required for customer is a bad inventory. So customer needs finished good. We are adding raw material inventory or we are adding work in progress inventory. Ultimately, it's a bad inventory. So the right way to operate in the such scenarios is to see that, let's say, process A, process B, and process C. In process C, the constraint process is process C. So you must start your process A only and only when process C completes his work. So that's a connected WIP. This is connected WIP helps you to keep synchronization in supply chain basis on process A consumption, which is triggered from a constrained process, which is process C. Then the required raw material will be pulled from supplier. So you are able to control on your raw material inventory. You are able to control on your WIP inventory, and your throughput will always be focused and remain consistent. Then basis on that, you are also able to convey to customer the right timelines, which is the must in current scenario where customer needs a commitment from manufacturing units, commitment from businesses when they are dealing with suppliers. So this structure, this way of working adds a lot of focus in the entire supply chain, keeps a lot of synchronization across the supply chain because we are dealing with multiple supply chains. So all this informations gets transferred through various networks, and then the material flows into the supply chains. So it is very important that fundamentally we should not disturb the fundamentals of the processes. So the fundamental processes, you identify your constraint. Either you debottleneck to increase the capacity, or at the bottleneck resource, always try to start with the capacity of the bottleneck. So with this guideline, I will say then on your raw material inventory, your WIP and your finished good inventory will be in control. Very often we are also coming to cases which is we are giving customized solution to customer, the demands are increasing day by day, that he needs customized solution. Now, when I say customized solution, it doesn't mean the entire solution is new to us. Sometimes you have a solution and you add some customized part of it and then give a solution. So typically in an environment, what happens is you have 80-90% of the inventory available with you, which is the same product, and then you change to a customized solution, which is adding one or two things into a solution, and then you pass it on to customer. Very often we are seeing that in a manufacturing domain, these are the typical cases where your inventories are drastically blocked. So you may come across similar situations. So the solution which we see, that very appropriate solution, very easy solution, or a very common solution to address this point. So what I said is, I'm repeating, you have a customized solution requirement from a customer, but your customized solution is not entire customized solution, but you have a part of a solution which is customized, and your 80% of the part levels or your solution is already available in your stock. So when you are not resolving the 15-20% of your non-standard part very quickly, it results into inventory blockages. And this is a typical scenario which you come across when you deal with a customized solution. So the antidote to that is, you need to understand what is the customized solution, what is the requirement, what are the processes which are involved into giving that customized solution. So if you drill down those activities, you will come to the conclusion that there are certain set of processes which are involved, which needs certain set of decisions. And the way you focus is on those set of processes to improve. In turn, you will improve the availability part of that customized solution. So in turn, it will release your inventory quickly, and so the entire inventory burden, which is blocked inventory, will get released faster. I will explain you one case which we have come across. So in our business, while we are manufacturing a customized solution, we have a 15-20% parts which comes from a MTO category, which is a make to order category. While we the common way of working was, we used to chase with a supplier in the entire supply chain for getting that material, and then when it reaches, it will unblock your inventory. But in that process, what we have found is the processes which are involved in resolving the supply chain issues are very common and very fixed. So whenever we order make to order part with the supplier, what we now do is, upfront we call that as a full kitting. So full kitting is what? When we order those material, we try to see that all the processes are qualified. If I look at the table, what we are saying is, when there is an order of make to order to a supplier, what we do is we check with the supplier whether his MOQ is sufficient. He is confirming that the MOQ which we are giving is acceptable to him. The prices are acceptable to him. The drawings are clear to him. All this set of information helps him reduce his non-value added time. And when these things are clear to him, he also prioritizes. He also quickly supplies it. And so the entire unblocking of block inventory happens. So somewhere there are different solutions which works for you. These are the common practices, and that is where we wish to share the practices with you. Another challenge in the VUCA world is we are seeing that the stock points are increasing all across. These stock points are nothing but the retailer points, the dealer points, the real stock points. They are increasing on a larger scale. If I want to commit to a customer, today for me, tier 1 and tier 2 or tier 3, any city, the demands from customer on timeline is same. So, and if I have to put inventories higher, then I will be probably carrying more inventories. So instead of that, if I look at the entire chain of supply, the points, all the nodal points, and if I connect those nodal points on a digital platform, if I look at all the points which are connected on the common platform with their inventory levels, then I will be able to take a lot of decisions quickly, because today there are good things which has happened. The good thing is the logistic part is also available with us with a digital platform. So we are able to see all the tracking system in transit. And so we are able to quickly arrange logistics. So logistic is not a major problem today in our country or across, where we can quickly take a decision to move one inventory from one location to another location. But all that which we need is a digital platform to connect all these nodal points to a stock point, and then putting a decision matrix for the replenishment of those points whenever there is stock depletion. So if I look at the entire solution, we are talking about how we are able to connect with a stock point through a digital network. And so we are able to connect with the entire ecosystem, so that on a larger scale, we are able to control on inventory levels. Hope this will be helpful to you. And I will then move now to some of the other options where we will be able to some deep dive on the inventory labels basis on the data metrics. So today, data-driven approaches for inventory control are again necessary whenever we are not automating a process, but we need to also see how we can use data to take a right set of information, the right set of decisions. So there are some must point which we should know as a control tower on an inventory side. So there are few of them. So if I look at data points on the SKU level, there are consumption patterns which you can track for each SKU level, and you can see that how the consumptions patterns are moving. So the SKUs in this table, you are able to see that how many SKUs are moving on a yearly basis. So 12 indicates the yearly consumption pattern. That is every month, 1578 SKUs are moving. At the same time, some SKUs which are not moving, you are able to take decisions faster to either to remove them from your stock point or do some alternatives to convert those inventories into good inventories, and then control those inventories. On the right hand side, you are able to also see, because of a digital network, you are able to really capture the lead times for the from the supply for each SKU level, and you are able to see key in each lead time buckets how you are putting your investment into an inventory. So how SKU levels are giving you the lead time impacts, and how consumption patterns are impacting on your inventories. So always the cost of stockouts and cost of inventory, they are the balancer, and they are always the traditional, the financial trade-off. But if you look at SKU characterization, if you are able to do a SKU characterization on an inventory control process, on the left hand side, what you are able to see is the green patch, which is showing you how your volumes are, which is how the constant demand is. The left side, A and X, you are able to see that SKUs which are easy to predict, based on consumption pattern, the SKUs which are easy to predict and they are high on volume. On the right hand side, which is represented by Z, the demands are very irregular, but they are high value or they are on a high volume side. So if you compare this chart or if you make this chart basis on your data points, how it will help you to take decisions faster is you are able to see that when the demands are stable and the volumes are up, or the value, the high value items are into a stable zone, you are able to control that inventory because then you will be able to reduce that inventory levels. And this is what is indicated into my chart onto a bottom right side. So bottom right side chart shows you that when your demands are A and X, which is stable demand and constant demand, there you should be reducing your inventories. Whereas generally, as a common practice, you tend to increase those inventories. Because they are always on a higher demand side. But when the demands are stable, you can increase the replenishment cycle and lower the inventory levels. This is one area where you can protect your inventories. You can still use the inventory, which is a total inventory in control, so that you are able to satisfy the demands which are irregular in nature. So this is a very fundamental difference. And most of the time, people do make mistake in this category, that they keep higher inventories when the demands are high and they are stable. Rather, they can reduce those inventories levels, keep higher replenishment cycles in this area, and increase some inventory levels where the demands are irregular. So similarly, some decision points you are able to take when you analyze your inventory into various charts. When you are seeing on the value side, when you are seeing on the consumption side, at the same time when you are seeing on a prediction side, which is on a demand side, demand fluctuation sides. So if you are able to put all your SKUs which are in your factory, which are in your control, into this characteristic, you will be in a better judge. You will be in a better position to judge the decision making, and you will be able to take faster and responsive decision points. So another chart is showing you a very larger picture of how further you can go. So we can also look at the fill rate in the field. We can also decide on service level. It is also important that inventory policy needs to be formulated within the entire supply chain, where you are deciding in the inventory policy what is the service level of each SKU, because it is always connected with your demand fluctuation, demand pattern, revenue generation, contribution. So each SKU is giving you all the connects. One is your SKUs are connecting with your revenue. They are also connected with your contribution. They are also connecting with your key accounts. They are also connected back to supply chain. So this SKU monitoring into a different matrix helps you to take the right decision at right time. This must be a dynamic in situation, because in the volatile world, what we are talking since the past half an hour or so is the volatile situations will remain there along with the supply chain. And so all this information you need to be dynamically available onto your charts. So this chart shows you how your inventory turns are in different box, which we have shown. In each box there are SKUs remaining. So each box representing some set of SKUs, and the right hand side informations are showing you how they are impacting, how many SKUs are impacting on your fill rate, how they are impacting on your inventory valuation, how they are impacting on your inventory turns, how they are impacting on your service levels. So look at the entire scenario and then try to either take decisions or try to automate so that those boxes can be then converted into a decision points. So that's this is my last slide. It's past 30, 40 minutes, I guess. Oh, I've already exceeded. So about 45 minutes, we have been talking about how we can control on inventory. Today, the world is moving rapidly on the inventory control side, and people are more and more focused. When we connect things to a digital platform, there are many options which then be brought into action if we start early. So because today many companies are also going ahead on inventory control through a mathematical modeling style. So various top universities are working on a mathematical model where they are able to predict the demand fluctuations. They are able to take a quick simulation run. For example, if the demand fluctuations are expected, and if I run my simulation, I should be able to see if I really put some inventory into this bucket, should I be profitable? Should I take that weight? All those simulations are possible if I connect my ecosystem digitally for my supply chain. I think this will not stop. We might have started in this journey. We might have been in a middle way, but it is extremely important that we progress in this journey far faster so that the upcoming events in the VUCA world can be responded well within the time, and then we will also exist. Otherwise, the existence of our product, our companies is at stake if I do not respond to the way VUCA world is changing. Hope this set of information will be helpful for you, and I will love to connect back with you, because as a supply chain professional, it's a part of practice. It's not one way. It's not experience. It's a part of practice, which I wish to share with you, and I will wish to hear from you. More and more case studies. Do share with us your experiences. Thank you very much.
Prasad sir, thank you for this mesmerizing and engaging session. It was very
Thank you.
nice to see Miss how you have put across all the points related to raw material, as you said mentioned initially that it could not be covered in this 1 hour time. And the pictographs, the infographics, those are fantastic, sir. So before we conclude, I'll take a few questions, sir. Okay. So there's one question: how ABC or VED classification and demand-driven MRP should sync? Class A or vital should be in yellow. C class can be in green. Should I repeat the question, sir?
I will
Got
try
it, right?
to answer.
Yes.
So when we are working with a demand-driven MRPs and digitally connected with a drum dynamic buffer management, probably those set of rules can be automated. For example, when I say the weight analysis or ABC analysis, you can automate those basis on the SKU definition, which I said SKU characterization, and those set of rules can be built into your system so that the right size of buffer systems can be dynamically adjusted. So there you really do not need to do this manually, but For better understanding, these are the another ways where you can quickly come to set of information and take some decisions quickly. And that is where the two things can be separately handled. Hope I have answered your question.
Yes, yes. So before moving on, I would like to announce that there's a feedback form in the chat section. Okay. Request everyone to please fill it so that we can understand, how you are liking this and what topics should we come in the future. Okay. I'll move on to the next question, sir. In VUCA world, okay, how can company
So
effectively?
sorry,
Yeah.
there was one questions on C class in green and yellow, and
Yes, yes,
I think
yes.
I have not answered. So
Okay. Acha. Okay. Okay.
typic
ठीक है.
so typically what is the tendency is, typically the tendency is keep C class items always in green. However,
Okay.
if you look at the C class items, the C class items replenishment cycles are faster. Okay. So ultimately one must understand the game of inventory. Inventory is your money bank, and where you play your cards is important. So when there is a easy way out of faster replenishment, you always try to optimize there, because the money you will release
To guys.
there will be helpful for you to put it into a difficult zone where your challenges are not within your control. I would, based on my experience, I would say I see this way. It is okay. You may say that keep it into green zone so that I need not
Mhm.
to worry there. But again, it's a call. I mean, you chase where you chase is important, and where how you handle your problems is important.
Great, great. So I'll move on to next question, sir. In a VUCA world, how can companies effectively manage the raw material across multiple locations and supply chain partners? Or I think they are mentioning about channel partners.
So precisely, the theme of this presentation was to connect and communicate that there are good platforms available.
Mhm.
Maybe there are different set of platforms available.
Mhm.
Important is how
Mhm.
we connect through a digital platform with those set of suppliers. So sometimes
Mhm.
the supply chains are extended. For example, one supplier may have his supply systems, and if you put a platform there between those
Mhm.
two connections, you are
Okay.
able to connect with the supply chain, and you are able to communicate well. So that's the
Okay.
advantage where you get onto a connected platforms.
Great, great, sir. So keeping time in mind, I would send you the other questions that are coming up, and we'll have to conclude this session today, sir. And once again, I thank you for such an insightful session, sir. Means, as you said, it is not about what doing right. It is about understanding the impact of doing wrong things, and that is takeaway for me today, at least. And I hope everyone has enjoyed, and it was a really engaging thing. I could see means participants flooding in, and still they are here. And thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much
Thank
for this plan.
thank you, everyone. Yes,
Thanks.
sir. Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.